Good afternoon. This is Jared with Carbon Digital. Today we're going to be talking about how to use the Duplicator plugin on WordPress to clone a site and move it to a new location. This is going to cover everything that you need to do in cPanel, and you're also going to have to use FTP software as well. So our FTP software today is FileZilla, so I will also show you how to set that up as well. It's pretty easy to do and pretty exciting. So let's just jump right in. So here's the site. It's a demo site on a domain that we're no longer going to be using. So we're going to hop into the WordPress dashboard and just go to plugins, add new. I guess I got to move my face because of this. Oh, there we go. So in the search bar here, type in Duplicator, D-U-P-L-I-C-A-T-O-R, Duplicator. And right here, this first one here by Snap Creek, install. And once that is done installing, we're going to activate that. And the reason why Duplicator is the best migration plugin is because it not only clones the entire site, but it also clones the database that's behind the scenes, which is very important. So now that it's activated, we're going to go to Duplicator, and you see here no packages found. On the right hand side, we're just going to click create new. And just in case you're wondering, this is the free version, not the pro version. The pro version has some extra features, but the free version does its job as well. All right, so we're just going to click next. And it's going to scan the site and tell us that it's ready. While this is happening, the Duplicator plugin works well. When you have lower tiered hosting plans and managed WordPress plans, you can come across issues with trying to use this plugin, which normally result in having to use a different plugin or having to manually copy and paste the files and the database, which is always a problem. But if you ever come across any problems, you probably won't be able to use Duplicator. But you can see here that everything across the board is good. So now we will click on this checkbox, yes, and then build. And it's going to do all the work for us. So this is going to take some time. So now while this is building, I'm going to go to my cPanel. This is for a Carbon Digital domain with a dash. And this is the one that I am starting to use now for CDN type stuff, for regular, basically a dev, it's my dev domain. So everything for here is currently in development. So we'll go through this real quick. So creating a subdomain is very simple. You're going to go to your domain section and subdomain, click on that. We're going to call this one Keep Rolling. And when you tab out of it, it'll automatically populate. Now, this is for the document root, but we can't place this domain, this subdomain, in that location because it has to be inside of public HTML. And I'll show you here on a new instance of the cPanel. If you go to File Manager, this is your root directory, but you have to go into public HTML to actually get to where the websites are located. And so we also have to add that in our files. So we're just going to add the /public_HTML/. And that's what's going to allow us to actually see the website, because if you don't put it there, it's not going to work. So then just click create, and it's done. So we're migrating a WordPress website. So if you come in here and you click on this application button and try to install WordPress, excuse me, you're going to screw everything up. And that's because we are duplicating everything, not just the part that's not default WordPress. We're duplicating WordPress as well. All right, so we will not be installing WordPress. All right, so let's hop back over and check. It's at 60%. Cool. So let's set up an FTP account. So here under the files, excuse me, click on FTP accounts, and you can see all of the FTP accounts. Now, I prefer to use my work domain, but that's not going to work here because you have to use the domain that you're in the cPanel for. So it shows here that I already have an account, which means that I've already done this work before. But to create an account, you just type in name, just like so. You type in a password, and this directory identifies what you can access. So if I wanted to just access a folder under carbondigital.us, this would be a place specifically for me. But if you delete that completely, now you can access everything. Okay, and I've always set myself to unlimited, which if you look under usage and quota, that's what that little squiggly line is. It means unlimited. All right, so now that our account is created, we're going to go into our FTP software. All right, so we'll pull up FileZilla. Now this here at the top, this is the newest version. This is your quick connect, but I'm going to save this. So I'll come in here on this add button to look at my sites, and I'll add new site. Cool. So this is Carbon Digital, I'll call it Playground. That way it stands out. So that's for me. So there's my user. Let me come back here. And we need, on the home screen, there's this shared IP address. This is what we need. We'll copy that. We'll go to FileZilla. We'll paste that in. The port is always 21 in most cases. And then I'm going to type in my password and hit OK, which will save it there, and connect will then connect me. So let me go ahead and plug in my password, and then I'll log in real quick. So stand by for confirmation. All right, so when you're logging in the first time, it might give you a certificate error. I use InMotion hosting, and so because of that, I always get an FTP certificate error every time I log in. As long as it's a place that you trust, you can trust it. I mean, the hardest part is getting connected. So that's what you should be focused on. So this here on the right is our server, and this here on the left is our computer. So now we no longer need this cPanel. We no longer need this cPanel, so I'll close all of that. Cool. And you can see here that everything is done. So what I'll do is I'll click on Installer and Archive, which will download each one. There goes the first one, and there goes the second. And those are both done. Cool. So now we can completely close this down. So in FTP, we're just going to open up a Finder or a window, find your installer file and your archive file. You can also do this from within FileZilla, but it's much more of a pain in the butt to navigate from here than it is from anywhere else. So locate your two files, navigate to public HTML and your subdomain in question, And now we can just drag and drop those files. And so while this is coming together, this is exciting. What we need to do is open up a new browser. We're going to type in the domain, keep rolling, and this is carbon-digital.us. You can see here that these files are already here. All right. Nothing's on our website, but we already are showing the files. You can see there, this is one file still transferring, and there's the transfer process happening. Oh, snap. I completely skipped a step, which we're going to see in a moment. I'm going to go ahead and log back in to my cPanel, because you definitely need that for this. So stand by. All right, I'm logged into my cPanel. The files are done transferring. So what we're going to do is we can actually close this down completely. What we're going to do is on our domain that we're working on, we're going to go to this installer.php, and that's going to take us to the page where we can start setting up the new website, and it's pretty awesome. Okay, make sure that everything's good. Pass, pass, pass. All right, check this box. I have read everything. Cool. Next. And next. It's not doing anything. Why is it not doing anything? So I have no idea. Back to installer.php. Huh. Options. Everything looks good. Let's check validation as well. Okay. Okay. Next. There we go. Sometimes you just got to do it twice. Guess it did not actually. Didn't recognize that I had clicked the button, so I had to reload it. So the extraction process, it says it can take several minutes. I've had this take over an hour because the client had a very low tier hosting package. So you definitely want to make sure that the client is utilizing a quality hosting plan. That way this process doesn't take forever and it just takes a couple of minutes. So while that's loading there, let's switch back to our cPanel. We have a two-step process to be able to activate this. The first step, create a database. Actually, it's a three-step. Create user, create database, assign user to database. All right, and that is very important. So we're going to go into MySQL databases here. Click. We're just going to create a user. So database, then user, and then you can go from there. So let's create a database. Let's call this WP645. It really doesn't matter what you call your database. Let's call this one. Keep rolling. All right. Cool. We'll keep that. All right. Create a user. Keep rolling. User. And the password, I'm just going to use the same as the database because this is a excuse me, this is just a test, so it really doesn't matter. So cool. So, created the user. Now you're going to need to remember that username and password because we have to input it. Finally, now that we have created a user and created a database, we can add the user to the database. Awesome. Give them all privileges, make changes. Done. So now we really no longer need cPanel, but just leave it up in case you make a mistake. So when this is done, we're actually going to have to enter in all of that database information. And so that is why you want to definitely make sure that you know the database name, the username, the password. And whenever this is done, we are going to finish this off. So I'm just going to take a break and I'll come back in like 10 or 15 minutes for me, maybe 2 seconds for you. And that way we can keep this video moving along. So when this is done, I'll be back. All right, guys. And we're back. All right. So this is step 2 where you enter in your host database username and password. Now you can use the cPanel login, but that's never worked for me, so I've never used it. All right. So let's take our database name, which is database. All right. I got this video thing. Hold on. Oh my goodness. There we go. Wow. There we go. There's our, oh, there it is. Database. I'll just copy it. There we go. Our username is at the bottom. Cool. And I use the same username as the password. So once you put all that in, you can hit test database. Everything is good, then you can hit next. Run the installer with these settings. Okay. And cool. So this will ask you what is your URL and then what is the path of your files. Just like before, it should be correct, but you want to double check. So yes, this is our subdomain. Yes, this is our correct path. This is the title of the website. Cool. Dunskies. So now we just click on this admin login button. And once this is done, we should be ready to rock. Boom. Cool. So let me type in my username and password. And I'm logged back in. Cool. So you can see here, the same WordPress is here. And if we go to the site, wait for it, it looks exactly the same. That's because everything is exactly the same. It's literally copying all the files and moving them to a new location. That is what is so beautiful about this. So that is how you migrate a website using Duplicator. If you guys have any questions or concerns, complaints, throw them in the comments, send us an email, post on Facebook, whatever. Reach out to us, all right? And we'll do what we can to help you out. Until next time, guys, happy coding.